First of all, I really believe in problem-based learning. I believe in applied learning. I'd done some volunteer work out at the elementary school teaching kids how to garden and teaching math with gardening, and just seeing how when they were using the vocabulary, that, concave, using that word when we were building a place to plant sweet potatoes, or corn. It was corn. It stuck. These kids were just so excited about it, and they were solving a problem. Well, I was trying to show them how to do a hill, and they couldn't get it. But when I said we're going to make the top concave, it worked. Maybe I'll just go back a little bit in time from when I first came here, and almost, with the exception of graduate work, almost all the teaching I'd had, all my teachers did lectures. And so that was the model I knew. And so when I first came here, that's what I did. And I worked hard on, I think most of us do, on making amazing lectures. And I felt like my students enjoyed my class, and that they were learning some. But when I got to the end of the semester, when I would do a comprehensive final, and I would ask them questions that asked them to dig a little deeper beyond just you've memorized, but can you apply what you've learned? Very few of them could do that. And so after several years, I became pretty discontent with how I was teaching. When Mark Serva came and gave this seminar on problem-based learning, I signed up because first of all, I really believe in problem-based learning. I believe in applied learning. So when I went to the seminar, he gave really practical ideas, and he modeled it. And by the end of the seminar, I had pretty much laid out my class of what I was going to do. And so I tried it last semester for the first time. I'm going to try it again this semester because I was really pleased with the end product, and also really pleased with the process, both. In both senses, the depth of their learning was just so much better than it was, especially if I contrast it with when I first came and did lectures. Their ability to take the knowledge, the content, and then apply it to a problem was just astounding to me. It was so rewarding. So one of the questions I had is, how do you do problem-based learning in history? And I had two projects that I gave them. And the first one was, we looked at the Aztec or Mexica people. And I have three readings that give them kind of a base of knowledge. And from those readings, and I gave them this question before they started reading them. So the question is, how were they able to create this immense surplus without metal technology, basically, and even animal labor? Most of their labor was done with humans. So how did they do that? And these readings gave them a step up, a kind of foundation, and they work very well with that question. So they looked for these articles on JSTOR, and they came up with much better articles than when I wasn't there. I mean, they had the question, and they had done these readings, And I had kind of taught them how to skim through these articles and look for whether it was going to be a good article or not. And the material was just much better to work with than it had been. Like if I had just given them a research paper, or when I had just given them general, I had just set them free in the library. So they kind of had to get into those articles and talk with each other and figure out if their articles were going to work together. And if it didn't, they had to go back and look, which gave them more practice in using the library for research, which is one of the objectives of the class. And then the other thing that I do is I actually have them work on the project in class rather than out of class. I give them enough time that they can just about do the whole project during class time period. And then what they're doing is they're teaching each other. And when they encounter a problem, versus if they run into a problem when it's them at the library late at night, I'm right there. And I'm wandering around and I'm helping them. And we can kind of nip in the bud if they're starting to do something ahistorical, or if they're going a direction that's going to take them to a pretty bad dead end. I mean, I don't mind them making mistakes, but because of that limited time, I kind of help them. I don't tell them, but I help them figure it out. And I find that the depth, the engagement that they have in class is so much higher when they're working on that issue, and the learning they're doing is so much greater than lecturing ever was. But I would say even then, when there's discussions going on, because they're all involved. It's not just, they're not daydreaming while somebody else is talking. They are working on this project, and they don't actually want to get together outside of class, so they want to get it done in class. So they're quite motivated, and the focus that they had was really intense. They would focus on their readings. They were reading the readings more deeply than they had when I had them, before I wouldn't give them quite as much time to do it in class. I expected them to do more of it out of class. But I could always tell that they were just doing I'm speaking generally. It wasn't this way with every student, but this time there was a more in-depth understanding of the arguments of the articles that they were reading and how they work together. And then they had to pull this all together and create an argument. So they're teaching each other, they're arguing with each other. Well, what about this? It's just a teacher's dream come true. It was just wonderful. It was just wonderful.